Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publicists Association's Let It Be Known. And we got Austin in the house.
Worse
It's a Friday.
than a white supremacist. That is until Jason Whitlock came along. He is the worst, most despicable, lying, no good, fat ass human being I have ever known in my life. Don't y'all notice why black people scurry away whenever this roach of an individual is around? You know what's out there writing stuff, smiling in my face 1 minute, talking smack about me behind my back, and then ultimately writing it? It was him. This same Jason Whitlock that wants to talk smack about me is the same Jason Whitlock that wanted to hire me. Weeks later, you wrote a lengthy apology to me in an email, begging me to forgive you, pointing out how you were betrayed by this particular writer, so you know how I must feel that you betrayed me. Did you tell the folks that, you bitch? Did you tell them? You fat piece of... It's the same Jason Whitlock that stood outside doors trying to get me and coax me into even having a conversation with them because they knew I was so disgusted with him, presumably after he hit a strip club, because we all know ain't nobody trying to go out with him.
We all know ain't nobody trying to go out with him. He goes out with himself. Come on, let's face it. Jason Whitlock is one of them basement guys. He's in basement down there doing some stuff. But Stephen A was, Power 96 said it is 2024 and everyone is looking for a Cat Williams moment. And Stephen A was looking for his, wasn't he, at the expense of the indescribable Jason Whitlock. He is indescribable in one or two words. I see why Stephen, again, y'all know I'm not a big Stephen A fan. We gave him his props a couple weeks ago, a week or so ago on this show. But I got to give him his props again. He probably could have been a little bit more eloquent, I should say, but no, he was spot on. Called Jason Whitlock like a roach. He said a lot of things. We're gonna talk about that this morning with Austin, and we're gonna also talk about the fact that the twice impeached, 4 times indicted, whatever you want to call him, former president, because that all the things fit. How he disrespected the judge during closing arguments again yesterday, but more importantly, this is what American politics have. I was talking to Jesse Jackson yesterday, and in fairness, and Jesse, he also put his aide on the phone as well, because sometimes because of his situation, he has to be interpreted. And Jesse, one of the things that he was talking about to me was the state of American politics, and particularly what with Martin Luther King Day coming up, what King would be thinking today, or perhaps even doing today if he were still with us. And we both agree that, come on, what goes on it's not about politics. It's not about you or me or the so-called constituents anymore. And Jesse was talking about how evil these politicians are. And I also spoke to a guy named Peter Johnson, who worked also with Jesse. He calls Jesse country. He worked with King. Peter Johnson has a book coming out shortly about his life and times with King and Jesse. In fact, I met Peter Johnson with Andrew Young. They old friends from Plaquemine, Louisiana, and he also talked about what Trump would say, what King would say about Trump. Nonetheless, more importantly, the judge received bomb threats at his home. This is where things are. Um, we're going to talk about that this morning, and also, and again, sticking along the lines of what things have come to. So we know Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. We now know that his alleged MIA was because of uh, procedure for prostate cancer. Yet, Austin Cooper, Republicans want him impeached because he missed those days. It reminds me, Greer sent me a story. Story was it was a prior story from a few years ago with this woman. Austin gave a kidney to her boss, and they fired her for taking too long to recover. That reminds me of that. And this is the Republican Party.
Wow. Wow.
This is politics today. They want to fire Secretary Lloyd. They want to impeach him because he has prostate cancer. He had a procedure for prostate cancer. We got to talk about that. And hey, if you're a football fan or not, and I know Power 96 is watching, big football fan, particularly an HBCU football fan, but this is not about HBCUs. And I know Southbound 3000, he's talking about JSU in the building and all that. But if you're a football fan or not, you should be watching tomorrow, 5 o'clock, the Miami Dolphins versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And no, you should not be watching because they're in Kansas City and Taylor Swift is going to be there in all of her unmitigated.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
her, this faux pop star glory, this made up, contrived anti-fiance. No, you shouldn't be watching for all of that. This is the best time in life. When I was a kid, when it snowed and when it was cold, when it was snow, a lot of snow on the ground, we used to go out, regardless of how cold it was, to play football because we could play tackle in the street. But this promises to be the coldest weather football game in modern history. The temperatures are to be at least -8 degrees Fahrenheit kickoff, and snow covers already. The Kansas City Chiefs released some photos of a snow frozen field there in Kansas City, and the Dolphins come from
Miami. That's right.
balmy Austin's hometown of Miami. Let's talk about that today. And the action, as you saw, continues on Stephen A. Smith's hour-long evisceration of Jason. I wish I was white Whitlock. I wish I was born white Whitlock. Austin, we know that this morning, too, before we even get into those topics, I know that you are really, really disgusted this morning about what happened at Lincoln University and the suicide of Dr. Bonnie Bailey. Now, I'm going to say what you're not going to say, and then I'll just throw it over to you. Why in the world does Lincoln University, an historically Black college, why do they have that clown? Not just because why does he have that clown? Oh, this white man who drove this woman, apparently drove her based on her, as you put it, suicide note, drove her to commit suicide. Why is, and then I'm looking at other stuff, Austin, where everybody, the students, everyone has been complaining about this guy. When Claudine Gay
Yes.
is unceremoniously kicked out of Harvard because they didn't want a Black person, let alone a Black woman, running their esteemed, prestigious university. Our HBCUs are just as esteemed and prestigious. Why? There are plenty of candidates But anyway, take it away, Austin.
Well, I was shocked yesterday when I heard about, David Beckford with the Washington Informer, and David and I, David is from Jefferson City, Missouri, and we were on just chatting when he paused, and I said, "Is everything okay?" And he said, "Oh my God, the vice president, former vice president of student affairs, if I have Bonnie's title correct,
Yes.
committed suicide, and over allegations of harassment by the current president of Lincoln University." So my first reaction was, was it sexual harassment? He said, "No, from what I'm seeing, it wasn't, sexual harassment." So let me say that, Lincoln University is near and dear to my family. I have a aunt who finished from Lincoln in 1955, and I have an uncle who finished from Lincoln in 1953. So once I got over, Stacy, the initial, shock, and started doing my own research, I was surprised to see that, Lincoln had a white president. I don't follow Lincoln, that closely to have been aware of that. But that's the first thing that surprised me.
Right.
Then when I did, I said, well, let me see what his academic credentials are, to host, be the president of this prestigious HBCU. And his two previous jobs were the athletic director at Lincoln University and the basketball coach at Lincoln University. Now, do you think that Harvard would have allowed any nonsense like that? Do you think any white
Harvard
university
couldn't
would have allowed?
swallow
Exactly.
having Claudine Gay. This is that was much on Harvard as it was on Elise Stefanik, as it was on these MAGA jerks and these conspiracy the white media
Hmm.
pushing for Claudine Gay
Yes, yes,
to get
yes.
out. This was as much on Harvard. Harvard hired her. Why? It still baffles my mind because they never wanted her. They
Exactly.
never
No,
wanted her.
no, but Harvard, and I agree with you 200% on the point you just made, Stacy. But neither would Harvard or Columbia or Stanford, any of these, white universities, hire a athletic director
Right.
or a basketball coach to lead the university.
So why Lincoln?
That nonsense would only happen at I'm sorry to say, an HBCU. From what I understand,
Because we have
this
too
guy
many.
had too many qualified.
Yeah, and we also have we still Barrington sent a text this morning with, and of course, Barrington was infuriated. Apparently, Donald Trump, and obviously he probably drove by the Bronx and gave folks $20 bills or whatever in a very poor section of the Bronx, um, to say nice things about him on a video.
Hmm.
Um, it's we still have too many like that. Too many sexy reds who will say, we got a $1,200 stimmy,
Hmm.
and we got too many of those in our community, who just will sell us out for an ice cream cone.
Exactly.
It's just too many of them,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Well,
that's unfortunate.
absolutely. Well,
That's
Bonnie sent a 10-12 page detailed letter to the president, basically a suicide note,
yes,
citing instances of where, she had been dealing with depression. She came there just last year, in April of last year. She's a 1998 graduate of Lincoln University. Her mother finished at Lincoln University, but she was dealing with serious issues of depression. And rather than be, sympathetic and, give her time off and to, work with her, he simply, she met with him in early December, and he fired her.
isn't that something?
And that unfortunately put this bright young sister on a path in which she committed suicide after sending that letter to the president. and a host of other people around campus. I don't see. I mean, I'm surprised that he's still in office, and I don't see how he survived, nor should he survive.
Well, he shouldn't. Come on. And notice, I was talking about Claudine Gay in that situation. Notice, what's the board member whose wife Ackerman,
Yeah, Bill Ackerman.
Did all the plagiarism and stuff. Notice how we don't hear nothing
You
about
don't hear
that.
exactly. Nothing.
Y'all better wake up. Wake up. We don't
Mhm.
hear nothing about that.
Mhm.
And so, but hopefully in this case, this is not one of those things that was just, it happened, we move on, and nothing happens to this greaseball right here.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's just horrible. Michelle Madison, by the way, Austin, you'll get a kick out of this. She's mocking me. She put a meme up. Why she put this meme up? And why you ever see what's that? One of my favorite movies with Joe Pesci and what's her name that won the Academy for it? He was the lawyer from Brooklyn. Yeah, My Cousin Vinny.
Oh, yeah. I know.
You
I can't.
mocking me? It was the judge. What, you mocking me?
Michelle is hilarious.
What's going on, Michelle? Why are you mocking me? Austin, before the show, Austin was talking about fighting Michelle. So you better be careful.
Michelle, ignore Stacy. Viewers, ignore Stacy. Stacy trying to start trouble and embarrass somebody.
No, we were talking about Muhammad Ali before the show, and I probably should save this for the Stephen A segment, but it kind of reminded me Whitlock going in on Stephen, and kind of reminded me of Ali. Ali told the guy, the guy would not say his name before a fight. He kept telling him, "You're gonna say my name. Say my name. What's my name?" He beat that guy to a pulp.
And
Say
I
my
told
name.
and I told you the first blow that left me disoriented, which probably would have been the first blow that left me disoriented. I would have been calling him Mr. Muhammad Ali.
Mr. Muhammad
The
Ali.
Honorable Muhammad Ali.
The Honorable Muhammad Ali.
whatever you want. Just stop swinging. Call the fight. I'm done.
That's it. Throw in the towel. Austin, there is a very disturbing story out of Alabama. The family of a second inmate who died while in Alabama's prison system is alleging that his body was also returned to them with missing organs. The family of Brandon Clay Dotson, he died in November in state prison, filed a federal lawsuit against the Alabama Department of Corrections and others, saying his body was decomposing and his heart was missing when his remains were returned to his family. And so also in the court filing, though, the daughter of Charles Edward Singleton, this she filed last week, another deceased inmate, said her father's body was missing all of his internal organs when it was returned in 2021. What the heck is going on? Dotson was 43 years old. He was found dead November 16th at Ventress Correctional Facility in Alabama. His family had suspected it was foul play. They hired a pathologist to do a second autopsy and discovered that his heart was missing. Unbelievable. Austin, they're dying in prison or killing them in prison or whatever, and they're taking their organs.
I don't even know how to, Stacy, explain this. And the fact that prison officials would release these bodies, and they had to have known, the condition of these bodies, these, unorthodox autopsies that had been done on them at the hospital. That just goes to show you how sick and in need of reform the prison system is, particularly in Alabama and our southern states, really all over. But prison officials were comfortable to release not one, but two bodies to their families.
Two that we know
was okay. Yeah. So if it's two, they're more. They're more.
And then the Dotson family said that they found out that the intent of this is to give the organs to the medical school at University of Alabama at Birmingham for research purposes.
Well,
They
if
have
that's the
no
case,
right.
exactly. If that's the case, that is, that is a discussion. We don't know if these prisoners were organ donors, but if that's what you wanted to do, that's a conversation you have with the family. You don't do
Absolutely.
anything unorthodox and disgusting and offensive like
Oh
this.
man.
And thank goodness, the coroner had the courage to come forward and notify these families, because he could have just done, his business, released the body, and these families would have never known.
It's outrageous. Power 96 writes that organ harvesting is nothing new, especially in the prison system. But Power 96, to Austin's point, does the first is the deceased inmate a organ donor? Is the family aware? Obviously, in these cases, the family was not aware. And did they sign off? Not that they have to sign off if the inmate is a known organ donor. Is it written somewhere or whatever? Because we're talking about grown men, but still, it appears that this is not the case here.
No,
Um,
no, no.
wow, it goes from bad to worse.
Yeah, and it just, if we are aware of two, then that number, no doubt, is
I
much
agree.
higher. And I'm just wondering if there are going to be any families that want to exhume the bodies of their loved ones to determine if they were indeed buried with their organs.
Yeah, that's another part. That's a good point because how many families now will be seeking to exhume bodies?
Exactly, exactly.
And the other part of it, here's the other part of it. How many can afford to have the body exhumed?
That's
It
true.
costs
That's
money.
true.
Power 96 says it doesn't matter to those devils. Follow the money. Somebody's getting paid.
Yep.
And that's the bottom line. Somebody's getting paid, and that's ridiculous. Well, to our least favorite but most talked about subject, the one and only former president, wannabe dictator. On Thursday, Austin delivered abrupt remarks. There's no decorum, and even courts of law. He delivered abrupt remarks in his own defense in the final day of his civil trial in Manhattan. And that civil trial is taking a turn because originally Letitia James had sought $250 million in fines. Now
Yes.
she wants $375 million in fines. But Trump attacked her, but he's a stone cold
Nut.
nut because he blamed her for, what was it, Exxon leaving New York in 1989. He blames her for Exxon leaving New York. Exxon, I think it was Exxon. Well, they left in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Mm-hmm.
what, 30
Yep,
something years
yep, yep.
ago?
And in 1989, because I was a lobbyist a few years later, maybe 2 years later, for Mayor Dave Dinkins. But in 1989, I know for a fact that Letitia was the chief counsel for the House Assembly Ways and Means Committee. So Letitia had nothing to do with Exxon leaving New York in 1989, or with any other companies, leaving New York since. But she will take credit for the Trump empire, leaving New York City, and for that I applaud my sister.
Well, so Trump insulted the judge. This is the judge. Now, remember, this is not a jury trial.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if you remember, it was Trump's team who incredulously asked for a bench trial. And then during the opening, Trump, it's like, why is this where's the jury? Why is this? You asked for
That's what
this.
you asked for. That's what you asked for.
And at that point, the judge said, we're not turning back.
Hmm.
We're not starting this all over again. It's
Hmm.
delay with this guy. And we know why, as we talked about yesterday and many times since. But so he insults the judge, and the judge asks that Trump's attorneys He says, control your client.
You know, first of all, as we all know, Trump is nuts. We all know that this is nothing but with Donald Trump, white privilege being thrown in our faces each and every day. Because Stacey, you and I, or Barrington, or Greer, or Michelle, none of us would have been afforded, the luxuries that he has been afforded in this trial, in the Alvin Bragg trial, and what's happening in Atlanta. Yesterday morning, as I'm sure you and the viewers are aware, this judge home received bomb threats.
Yep.
So the day before, so we're Friday, so Wednesday, he had ruled that Donald Trump would not be allowed to speak to the, well, he was offering him the opportunity to speak, with some, very simple condition. You're not going to get up in my courtroom and make a political speech. You're not going to get up in my courtroom and attack me. You're not going to get up in my courtroom and attack my clerk. You're not going to get up in my courtroom and attack Letitia or anybody on the prosecution team. But,
Right.
if you want to speak, I'll let you speak, but you have to agree to these conditions. Trump said no. So yesterday, during his appearance, toward the end, as I understand, one of Trump's lawyers asked, and the judge agreed. And I'm wondering if the judge agreed because, the emotional impact of the pressure that he and his family have been under, the emotional impact of the threats, attempts against he and his family, the attempts against his clerk and her family, were weighing on him when he decided to reverse himself and allow Trump to speak. So Trump gets up and does exactly what he was warned not to do. And the judge sat there, as I understand, and allowed him to speak for at least 3 or 4 minutes before saying to his lawyer, and what you just said, make your client stop.
It's unbelievable. And then the judge got a bomb threat. This is where, again, I mentioned the phone call with Jesse Jackson and Peter Johnson, and what they were saying and about Trump and politics today. Of course, Jesse Jackson ran twice for president. His son was a congressman. But this is where things are. I just don't see how this is sustainable. This type of without some, it's got to be something that's going to really happen. This is all leading to something, Austin, something major.
Something, and if Trump gets back in, all of this is leading to the collapse of the American democratic system, which includes the judicial system, as we have known it. Trump could have, but he has no redeeming qualities. We say in the Bible that everybody has redeeming qualities. I'm convinced he's the one person who does not. I cannot think of one redeeming quality of
I think
of
Charles
Donald
Manson
Trump.
might have more.
Exactly. But he could have said whatever he had to say. Not once has he said publicly. He certainly said before the juror that I disagree with the judge's home being bombed, because he wanted to be bombed.
He wanted to be.
He wants that judge to be taken out.
Yeah, absolutely.
He wants that clerk to be taken out. Look at the comments that he has made to laughter by his nut MAGA base about an elderly man, 83-year-old Paul Pelosi, being hammered
over the head
in his home. And he jokes about it. I wonder how he's doing. I wonder how his head feels. I wonder if he's still getting headaches. And the audience laughs.
And they laugh. Yep.
John McCain, he ridiculed John McCain in Iowa last week, saying how when McCain destroyed his chances of repealing Obamacare, he came down and, put his thumb down, and Trump mocked him and over the fact that he could not raise his arm any higher. Well, he
and
couldn't
those
because he was he was a prisoner of war.
and those are the things. Just something like that. That's just one of we can sit here and name
All day,
perhaps
all day.
thousands of things that he wants to do to destroy things. He only wants Obamacare gone because it has Obama's name on it, right?
Exactly, exactly.
But here's the thing: his people, the GOP, they have never ever put an alternative up.
No, no, and keep in mind, you're exactly right that he wanted to be taken down because it had his name in it. But guess who? Guess who named it Obamacare? It wasn't Obama.
It wasn't
It wasn't the
Obama,
Democrat. It was the
right?
Affordable Care Act,
It's the
and they
Affordable Care
named
Act.
it. This was before he came into power, but they named it Obamacare as a way to rally opposition against the Affordable Care Act.
Exactly. And 20 million more folks signed up again this year.
Yes.
And without it, millions and millions of children, seniors, and others who particularly those who have pre-existing conditions, they would be without health care. They have never, as much as they've tried to eliminate Obamacare, they have never offered what they would do instead.
Nope, nope, nope. And let us not forget who President Obama and his team, what plan they looked to when they were working out the details and creating the legislation. Former governor from Massachusetts, Mitt Romney, a Republican. That was the model they used for Obamacare.
Yeah, and so just to go on with this, the Lloyd Austin situation too fits right in what we're talking about. Just how nasty and how racist and how despicable they can be. The guy, yes, uh, the Pentagon probably could have communicated better with the White House when he was out for those few days. Prostate cancer surgery, and so now you got the Marjorie Taylor Greens, et cetera, of the world want to impeach him,
Yeah.
and it just goes to show you that this is all about just putting folks in their place. The Claudine Gays, how dare they give someone like her the presidency at Harvard? Lloyd Austin, how dare they make him basically the head of the military? That's all this is about, Austin.
Yeah, it's racism and a double standard. Look, I think that General Austin handled this, really poorly. I think that he created an unnecessary headache for the White House. He
Mhm.
created an unnecessary problem for the Pentagon, for himself. I understand being private, but when you're in positions like this, particularly that high up in the military,
Mhm.
I think he had an obligation to alert the White House and alert the president that he was in the hospital. So that's behind us now. Now, do I think that it is cause for him to step down? Absolutely not. And I don't believe that. I would be very disappointed, in an election year in which President Biden is struggling. I'm still frustrated to hear, but struggling to excite the black voters, that he would fire him. I'm
No,
hoping that
he's
his
not.
cancer is treatable and that he does not have to resign, for health reasons. But Marjorie Taylor Greene and the others calling for him to be removed from office, they have nothing to say about Donald Trump.
And here's what Power 96 said. He said, to hell with the communication. He is battling cancer. He says, Power 96 served under General Austin. He was the
Okay.
first black man to lead a division into war. Um, you know, I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying about how he could have handled it differently, but I'm telling you right now, I don't think I would have handled it any different either.
Okay.
Because we're talking about we're not talking about a flu, a cold, or even COVID-19. We're
Mhm.
talking about prostate cancer surgery, right? It wasn't that he went to the doctor and found out this and had to get some medication. he
I
went in
think
for
that,
surgery.
yeah, I hear you, but I think that we, and I, wish General Austin nothing but a complete and full recovery. But when you're in these highly, politically charged positions, I think we always have to be mindful, whether you're dealing with personal crises or not, to be a head, manage the story yourself, because
Right,
eventually it
right.
was going to get out.
But here's
Eventually
the
it was
other part
going
of
to get
it.
out.
Could it have been too, with all the conflict going on, and I mean they just the U.S. just bombed Yemen. Um, could it be that it might not have been the smartest move to publicly state that the defense secretary was undergoing prostate cancer surgery?
I don't think that it had to be released to the public, but I still think that the White House should have been alerted, and they just put a lid. Corinne
Right,
should have been, notified in the event that she stands before those cameras, and is so she's not blindsided. So
right,
I'm not saying that the general. I mean, we're all entitled to our health privacy, even
right,
in
right.
those, even when you're Defense Secretary of the United States. But I just think that he should have alerted the president,
Right. And
and
they
and Biden would have kept it quiet.
first of all, first of all, I'm not laughing at what David said. I'm laughing at something else I'll tell you in a moment. But Secretary Austin should have notified someone, David Youngblood said. But Greer says she's done, Austin. So this is all about Kareem. She's done. You cannot take this constantly defense of Kareem Jean-Pierre by Austin
I
Cooper,
would have said that about any press secretary, but especially Corinne.
but especially Kareem. Oh gosh. Moving on. So
You guys are hilarious.
I'm glad she called you out on that before I had to. But anyway.
I thought I had gotten away with it with
Oh
you,
no,
and then
you
I look
can't.
over at the comments and oh God.
Come on, you can't get away with nothing on this program. If, when I'm slow to the draw, she's quick.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So check this out. Watch even if you're not a football fan, you gotta watch tomorrow's game. The Dolphins and the Chiefs kick off tomorrow. The temperature is expected to be approaching with a wind chill approaching minus 30 degrees,
Mm.
according to the National Weather Service. If that projection holds up, then this will be the coldest game that the Dolphins certainly have ever played in. And of course, we know that they're used to kicking off in Miami, where it's always about 80 degrees or whatever. But and this is going to be hilarious. What's a bizarre coincidence, Austin, is the game that the Dolphins played in some time ago, which was one of the coldest games in 2008 in history. In fact, that was like the coldest game in 2008. And you know where they played it? In Kansas City against the Chiefs.
Wow. I can't
But
imagine that there aren't at least a few players on the Chiefs team. They may not, verbalize it, but some of them are thinking, "I wish we could play this game in Miami."
no, they not. They wanted to advance. This is the playoffs.
No, I get, I get the playoffs. I get the home court advantage, but the home court advantage, I need to be warm.
So back in 1983, the Chiefs also played a game where the temperature was -5 on which was the coldest in franchise history. Power 96 says he's watching the Texans tomorrow. Black head coach and black quarterback.
My brother said he's out. He's out.
He's out. He's always going to go against the grain. He's always going to, and he's always going black. That's the good thing about him. He's going black regardless. He's unless it's Jason Whitlock.
Unless he's one of those blacks.
One of them blacks. Look at that field, Austin. Look at that stadium.
Look at that.
And look at the workers trying to. And this is the thing. So I've said this for forever. They they use all this taxpayer money and charge $1 billion for a ticket. I mean, these stadiums are billions of dollars, and taxpayers pay for. Why don't these stadiums, and I'm talking football, baseball,
everything,
domes,
domes,
all the money,
exactly.
It's like they don't care nothing about the fans whatsoever. Nothing about the fans.
No,
I don't care what they say. Fan experience, fan. When they start talking fan experience, it just means at least a couple more $100 out of your pocket.
Exactly.
Fan experience should be paramount in that. Let's build these stadiums and let's be able to. They got some stadiums. One comes to mind is in Phoenix, where the Arizona Diamondbacks play, where they can open and close the roof anytime they want.
Exactly.
That should have been a mandate of all of these new stadiums that's costing billions of dollars. Your tax bill is up every year, and they raise the ticket prices every year.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine being in that crowd, sitting still? I don't care how many long.
Oh, they're not going to be sitting.
How many? Well, what else are they going to be doing? I mean, sitting, standing,
you
jumping
can't
up
sit
and
on,
down.
You,
yes,
you
sitting, jumping up and down. But how warm are you? And how long is the football game? You know how? No.
Listen, you can't
I
even be. You can't even go inside where the concessions are and be warm. I was at a Penn State game one time, and I only went because a coworker kept badgering me to go. And this was like early 2000s, and it was absolutely freezing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So the guy I went with, they're season ticket holders, and so they had they did the tailgating stuff, and they had guess what they had? They had a bunch of hot chocolate and a bunch of bottles of scotch. Do you know that all I consumed all day? Hot chocolate and scotch.
Yep.
What a combination. And but the thing about it,
were you warm?
Oh gosh, everything except my toes. Okay. But see, this is where you got, so that people say, oh well, maybe Taylor Swift won't. Yeah, she'll be there. You know why she'll be there?
Oh no,
because she sits in those private boxes, and they have the screen there. That's where I sit. In the warmth. If I'm going, that's where I'm sitting.
I don't blame you.
I'm serious. Somebody's giving me a ticket in there. I mean, I'll pay for it if I have to. But if I have to go, that's where I'm sitting.
What is going to be the high again tomorrow?
There in Kansas City?
Yeah.
The high is -8 Fahrenheit.
Jesus.
Wind chill -30. Yeah, it's no way. I mean, and plus the best seat is in the house. It's in in your living room.
That's right.
And that's what the fans should be doing anyway. Send a message anyway. Give us better. They should go on strike.
No,
better
certainly
conditions. But look at these workers. And that's the other thing. You got to be paying me double time at least to be out there trying to get that together. I mean, I'm allergic to that type of work, first of all. I start breaking out in hives. I start looking like I got some sort of illness going on. I can't be doing that.
Need a booster for something.
Right. Exactly. Oh, gosh. So I'm going to watch, though. I know Power 96, he's going to watch the Texans and all that stuff. He's got to support the team. And I got to watch this game.
I'll be rooting for my home team, the Miami Dolphins. Yeah.
Of course you will. I got to watch only because I want to know how many turnovers. I want to see the turnovers, the hilarity of them fumbling and the quarterbacks trying to throw a frozen ball.
Can you imagine?
It's going to be hilarious. Anyway, speaking of sports, everyone is still talking about Stephen A. Smith's complete annihilation of Jason Fat Boy Whitlock. I say Fat Boy only because of the fact that he called him fat everything else. I I think that the Roots, Noah McGee put it best when he wrote. Noah McGee wrote. He says, "I'm going to give it to you the way it is," and he broke it down. Noah says that we're less than 2 weeks into 2024, and it's already been one of the most violent years I can remember, thanks to 2 vicious videos. The first involves Cat Williams, who destroyed everyone with whom he has had a grudge during a recent interview, of course, on Club Shay Shay. And the second involves Shannon Sharp's co-worker, Stephen Ace. He says he took an hour, he dedicated an hour to eviscerate one man. And he said the fact that he took an hour, he said that he said that is one of the most vicious takedowns. He said the same guy who had no idea that ads that show up on ESPN talking about Whitlock are based off of his own search history. He said in the same way Cat Williams shocked everyone in Black Hollywood, Stephen A. Smith stunned everyone in the sports media world, going after one of the most controversial, hated, and bigoted sports commentators out there. He says, you know how much smoke you need to have for one person to talk about them for nearly an hour straight with no interruptions.
No interruptions, no commercial breaks, no water breaks, no bathroom breaks. I mean, he just sat there. And
this hour-long rant is brought to you by.
yeah. And I don't know if Stephen had he didn't look like he had a script. He just looked like he was speaking off the cuff, extemporaneously, and he went on for a solid hour. Has Whitmore responded?
Of course, of course he has, but who's paying attention? He said, Noah says that this was next level hating.
I'm surprised that Whitmore had the guts,
Whitlock.
Whitlock had the guts.
Whitless.
Whitless. Let's call him Whitless. I'm surprised that Whitless had the audacity, clearly not common sense, to respond. For him to go on his show and light you up some more.
Austin, make no mistake about it. Jason Whitlock, and this is the only time I've ever gone on his Twitter feed, and he has a series of stuff on Stephen A. Smith based on Stephen A.'s rant. You know why? Because he's getting people following him now. He's getting people who watch him now. He's using Stephen A. Smith as a come up. And that's really what it is. But he called Whitlock worse than a white supremacist. He said, I literally called my pastor and asked for forgiveness. First of all, why you go? You need to pray to ask for forgiveness. A man can't give you forgiveness. His pastor, he said he asked his pastor for forgiveness. understanding in advance what he was going to do. He said he
wait. So he asked his pastor before the podcast? Before. Wow.
He said, I literally called my pastor and asked for his forgiveness and understanding in advance. He said because the pastor was not going to recognize the person he's about to hear. He said he did the same with his he emailed his bosses at ESPN. He said that. He said, you see what he does? He's the one that puts himself in front of white folks, is what he said about Whitlock. He said the white folks, not all white folks, not most white folks, but the white folks that dare we say may have a problem with black folks. He said Whitlock tells them, I'm your man. That's what he does. He says, you think I'm lying? He said, ask ESPN, he just broke it down, ask Fox. He says, I could not imagine as a black man knowing our history anything worse than a white supremacist. That is until Jason Whitlock came along.
I mean, again, the Uncle Tom of sports announcers.
He said you were a great writer. Your mistake was you started talking, and worse, wanting to be seen while you were talking. Which is why your quality and your value plummeted. He says, because when we see you and we listen to you, we know how worthless you are.
No. That was, and I only got through a half hour of the rant over the weekend. I've got to watch the watch the last half.
Oh
But
my gosh.
yeah. But I was just sitting there listening with my mouth open and laughing. I said, "My God, this guy is serious."
Yeah, and look, I don't generally watch his rants because I just think sometimes, a lot of times, they're over the top and
Agreed. Agreed.
they're a call for attention. And I know he wanted attention for sure on this one,
Well, he got it.
but
Well,
I
he got
couldn't
it.
blame him.
Yeah.
He said my name for Jason Whitlock is religiously is Cain. He said, you see, a lot of black folks, we talk about how we're the original man on the face of the earth. That means Cain was the original murderer because he's the one, according to the Bible, killed Abel. Wow. He said, that is Jason Whitlock. There is nothing good about Jason Whitlock. Absolutely nothing. He said he's the worst.
That was a takedown of all takedowns.
Look, he said he's the worst human being any of you will ever meet. He says you get within a mile of his presence, wrap your arms around yourself to protect your soul. That's a takedown and a half.
Passionate. That's from the gut. That's from the gut. From the bottom of your gut.
That was pure 100% hate.
Yes.
I mean, Jason, how do you come back to what? Well, what did he say? What did Jason? What did he respond? How did he respond? How do you respond?
And I understand, he's posting Stephen's takedown to increase his followership on X and whatever social media platform, but at what expense? I mean, you're promoting your own takedown for viewership.
Well, the thing is, he's saying stuff like, and he's posted one thing I saw. He's saying stuff like he's living rent free in Stephen's head, and that Stephen couldn't sleep. So he puts this meme of himself like over Stephen A. Smith doing this while Stephen A. Smith is sleeping, and it's like, come on, you're such a cornball.
Exactly.
It's like go serve your masters.
Yeah. And what he doesn't want is for Stephen to do part 2.
Well, I don't think
Stephen. 3.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna do a part 2. I think he got it all
out. He's done. Yeah.
I think he got it all.
What more could he possibly say when you think about it after you listen?
And I'm pretty sure. Well, no, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure ESPN probably doesn't want him, and he did it on his show, not his own podcast, not on ESPN. He made that clear, but he also said that despite the fact that he owned that show right there, that he still felt like he should give ESPN a heads up. But I think ESPN wouldn't want him to do that again. But based on the fact that everyone's talking about it, I think they probably would welcome it again. Anything for ratings.
And I don't know if Stephen speaks any foreign languages. Maybe he's fluent in French. He might do a French version of that takedown.
Well, they say, excuse my French. So everything he said was in French.
Exactly.
It's quite amazing. Southbound 3000 says that, but isn't this what the world thinks of us as a race?
Yeah.
Well, it's unfortunate, but it's like I said earlier, though, it's unfortunate that we still have too many Jason Whitlocks in our community. We have too many Jason Whitlocks who is willing to throw any black person under the bus to appease, right, and to appease someone white. We got too many Candace Owens. We got too many Clarence Thomases. We got too many Ben Carsons. So, and we don't see that anywhere else. I at least I don't. Do you see that with any other race?
Nope. And speaking of Ben Carson, I saw clips of him in the what we call it, the spin room after the debate the other day. Trump wasn't there, but this coon was there defending and promoting Trump after the Nikki Haley DeSantis debate. Yeah.
Well, if you haven't seen the Stephen A. rant, if you're interested, It's still out there. Go ahead. Just like Cat Williams is still out there. Austin, we appreciate you as always.
Good to see you, my brother.
We got a special guest. You're doing your makeup on live. You bet. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see. I love it. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining. See, now she's gonna let us sit. She's not gonna take us off the air.
I know.
It's all your fault, Austin.
Yeah, I didn't do anything.
She wanted to show you.